where I heard about this story where the architects built beautiful bamboo building for this this committee, and the committee was so angry, it tear it down, the whole thing. Okay, hi everyone. So Raja, I would like to continue the conversation where we left off with Priya and Javier. I think I feel something similar. Were you concerned about your survival food financially when you transited from a very stable job to pursuing a passion, you know, where you don't even know what is it, how is it, and where is it? Do you have that kind of fear, and how do you get around that kind of emotional fear and even financially if you're still paying your loan for your university?
Yeah, I think definitely, in terms of stability, right? Financial stability lah. But back then, I think I was lucky because I didn't need to pay for my tuition grants or loans because I was sponsored by Mendaki to pursue my education throughout from bachelor to masters. So loan wise, I'm quite
Lucky. Lucky.
Don't have to pay any single cent so that's one way also I feel that I need to give back to the community But back then I was still single, so I don't have family. I mean, I just contribute to my own mom. And I think it come to a point also where I want to have some stability right? So it was a struggle, for at least for 2 years. I was doing freelance and also doing adjunct lecturing But I think back then I was like earning maybe 2K per month. So
was it enough for you? 2K?
2K, what do you think? Survival mode yeah. So I think I also thinking about settling down to get married, all that kind of things, and I don't have much savings. I think for 1 year I survived on the savings that I saved when I was working We have bonuses and things like that so managed to save a fair bit of amount that can help me to sustain for 1 year. So that's why I was able to go traveling, I like to seek the world out there. After 1 year already, then I start to worry already So that's why I need to go and look for something that is more permanent, right? And when I found the interest in teaching, and also there's an opportunity for me to teach full time, and I was very lucky that I managed to land a role back then.
Do you regretted that 2 years at all?
Oh, definitely not
Definitely not, right? Even
I
if you were struggling
I
2000
I could go through the same thing again, like to really travel the world and things like that. But now it's not possible because now I'm married, so I got a lot of responsibility kind of things. I can't just let go of my life right now and just go and travel, go for another soul searching trip kind of thing. Yeah.
There's never a right time, I think.
Yeah.
There's never a right time. You just have to take the courage at some point, even if you don't know what. I mean, have some savings at least a year.
Correct.
I think that's the reality on the ground.
I think back then when we first met, I think I remember it was 2019 or something, right?
Yeah, 18, 19.
18, 19, right?
Yeah.
Where, I mean, I heard of someone who also doing something similar to what I want to do, kind of things, try to help communities in our Southeast Asian region, kind of things. Right? I don't know who actually linked us up. So I think
connections.
But before this, we don't really know each other, right?
I know you're my senior in school in NUS.
We went to the same school. Actually, we even went to the same JC. Right?
Oh yes, we did.
Yeah, you always forget about this.
I always forget about Tampines JC. Now non-existent.
So I don't know that before that I don't know that we are from the same JC, same uni, and also same architecture firm. Yeah, it's only in poly that we got to know each other, right?
Yeah.
But I think back then also you're also in a transition period, right? Where you were trying to move from working in a large firm, like corporate firm, to starting on your own. I still can remember the conversation that we had, in terms of what kind of structure, what kind of entity that you want to be.
I think when I met you then, that's why I could resonate. I also left. I mean, I was in a very comfortable job and I love that job actually, to be honest. I love that job. But I just felt that, I don't know, is it a quarter life crisis or not? But I just felt like if I don't do it, there's never a right time to do it. And I know that once I get too comfortable in my job, I will never leave already. And I say, I mean, what the heck? Do it, right?
Yeah, lor.
What can happen? Okay, for me is I had an endpoint. For me is I gave myself 5 years. What can happen after 5 years if it doesn't work out? I just come back a full-time job. I just be slower, maybe refetch a new salary again, sadly, but I can work in Starbucks when I was young and McDonald's and coffee shop. This one no problem. I can do it again. And that kind of motivated me. But what really scares me was
Instability, right?
for me, it was not the financial instability. Maybe because I was too emotionally driven. Was I don't know where to start. You ask me about efficiency of car park, efficiency of office floor plan, everything. I can tell you all the numbers. You tell me how to build a simple house in the rural community. I have no idea. To be honest, as an architect, I'm supposed to know, but I'm too used to the corporate setting. The kind of knowledge you gain is very different. So my worst fear was I don't know where to start. I really had no. I really don't know who and what, and so I was very, very happy when I met you. So it was somewhere along that line, and I think I met quite a few people key thing, but because I felt it was important to unlearn what I knew, what I learned from corporate, but not saying it's not useful. I'm just saying put it aside, and then just travel, right? That's the key thing you said. Just go out and travel. And for me, was I purposely travel to places that I want to learn from the local people.
Very, very far-flung places, like the border between Thai and Myanmar, that kind of thing.
Myanmar.
And somehow you're a girl, right? Then you have to cross border and travel how many hours? 8 hours. I wouldn't bring myself to do that lah. At most, I think my travel is only 3 hours only.
Whole day to travel, some more. 2 days to
So I
travel.
really salute you lah, right? To really go out of your comfort zone. To do something to a community that you are not familiar with in terms of the culture wise.
To be honest, I also don't know what I was doing over there. But I'm glad I went there, even though I don't know what I'm doing. So the next question I have for you, Raja, is that, like your education, your university education training, your experiences traveling, I call it life school, right? And even your experiences working in offices, how did that help you in your journey to develop yourself towards maybe it's more reflective, right? A capacity to, I would say, to serve through design.
I think just now I share about my first experience through the Youth Expedition Project, right? When I was still in uni lah. I think that was my first foray into community work or community service. I think in Singapore also I don't really do much community service.
Okay.
So, but my first community service actually overseas.
What is the
That's why. So when I exposed to the harsh realities of what people out there is facing, kind of thing, right? Where really have the basic needs, or sometimes it's the basic things are not even matched, kind of thing lah. So that's when I start to question myself. In terms of maybe not at that point of time. I think at that point of time, my motivation is that I just want to travel overseas. Maybe it's free or even subsidized kind of trip.
I think heavily subsidized.
Yeah, heavily subsidized. And also I go on for a 1 month backpacking trip with my batchmates to go to India and things like that. So that was my motivation. So I didn't know that later on in my life, I tried to look back, or not even later on, maybe just a couple of years, where there are more opportunities for me to go on YP trips or even lead the YP trips, to do something to help local communities to uplift their life, and through infrastructure building. I think that's the part. The skills and knowledge that I've learned in school, right? The application wise, because I even start working. I think we already motivated to do something or to design and build something for them that has an added value in terms of the spaces wise, space planning wise, in terms of the aesthetic wise, right? Make them have some dignity in terms of their living environment, right? Whether is it a school, or whether is it a shelter, or a multi-purpose hall or pavilion, kind of things.
I think one of the key things we spoke about before the show started was that even talk about materials, right? We talk about, even though as architect I love bamboos, I love timber and all, right? But the reality on the ground is that local people think that bamboo is for poor men, right? I had my own experience, Trecia experience in Myanmar border also, where I heard about this story where the architects built beautiful bamboo building for this this community, and the community was so angry it tear it down, the whole thing. But yet for the community level on the ground, a lot of communities, right, in Southeast Asia especially, upgrade improvement is built in concrete and bricks. And it's almost a status, right? A social status to show a little bit of wealth.
Yeah.
So do you have any experience?
I think throughout my experience working in Indonesia especially, right? Because that's where I led all the trips for the student trips to Indonesia to actually to build some of these infrastructures, right? So when I tell them that I wanted to build some of these structures out of timber and bamboo, they were quite hesitant lah. Okay? Like you say, bamboo to them is a poor man's material. Yeah, and bamboo can't really last long. So I think the first project there was actually to build a library cum playground.
Okay. I think I remember the project. Yeah.
So that's where we introduced the use of timber structure, right, as well as bamboo walls. In terms of using bamboo as the structure per se, I think the community is not really comfortable yet, because the bamboo that they have are not treated, right? So they won't be able to last long as a structure kind of thing, right? So at most that we can try is just using bamboo walls, because that one can be easily replaceable kind of thing.
Panels, right? Bamboo wall panels, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so the value that we add there is really about the space design, right? Or to even the programming part of things, like to combine library with a playground together. Space is something that they also never thought before. Yeah. But then when we say that the playground is actually a draw for them, right? To come to the place, right? To this library, and when they start to expose themselves to the books and things like that. Yeah. So in one way, to draw them first, and when you're there, then the local people that's managing the place can already start to encourage them in terms of reading and things like that. So they will introduce all the other programs slowly, like more like a spark like I say, to get them interested to come to that space first. I think that's very important.
One thing I took away from that is that every time we don't just want to go there and build things, right? We want to be able to use design to serve.
Yes.
Yeah, and creativity is very important.
Correct.
Creativity doesn't have to look fancy, but I think the process and the thinking process, even to communicate to the community, the learning process has to be creative.
Correct. Yeah.
We spoke about language barrier just now, right?
So very much in terms of creativity is important, because for them they are only just exposed to certain things. When we come there, I mean we don't want to come with a Singaporean mindset. Okay, I want to impose my values on you.
Exactly.
Kind of things. So we need to be very respectful of them, right? Yeah, understand where they're coming from, right? Understand their culture, and so we need to listen to them. And I think back then I already started to do some form of participatory design or community design. Talk to the leaders in the community. I think before I bring in the students, because back then we haven't really incorporate service learning within the module yet.
Okay.
That was only I think in 2017 or 18.
And that's the time I came in.
Yeah, that's the time you came in when we built the structure in Tassim, right? You saw the school, right?
Yeah, I remember.
But before that, it was just myself going there. I think many trips before the actual trip with the students.
Yeah,
where I get to know them, to understand them, and try to seek creative ways to the problems that they have. Like for example, the one that we have, the library playground, is on a very tight plan. It's actually owned by someone, right, who's just living just beside it. Given that limitations or that, and we have to work out something creative. So quite a challenge. Initially they were not very receptive to it, but after a bit of convincing, then when I showed them the design, actually I also got students to help me in coming out the design before the trip itself. So there was some group of students where I tasked them as part of the CCA kind after their schoolwork, whether they want to design this facility for them. So that was the first project that we did, a library cum playground. And the serendipitous part of things, right, is like in 2018 there was an earthquake, right?
Yeah.
That's this village actually suffered. So the buildings around that area, we should build out of concrete and bricks. Collapse a lot of, I think some of the schools all collapse. But this structure of wood and
Stayed.
stay strong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it become like a safe haven for the children there and also for the mothers there. So they actually transform it into a community kitchen to where the mothers go there to cook meals for those people who has suffered from the earthquake. And also for children to still find normalcy in their life after the disaster, right? Through play, I think, yeah, and also through education as well, because there are schools which is built out of concrete and bricks have collapsed, so they don't go to school. So yeah, the only way where they still get in touch with education is through this small structure. Like everybody will just come there, then there's some community organizer or even some of the NGOs who have programs with the village or with the community. They come and conduct classes there and things
Became
like that.
this community social hub, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very much needed, especially post disaster, where you need people, you need anchoring point physically and also emotionally. I think. I think this simple structure looks simple, but I think it's so powerful.
Correct.
Especially presented in the emergency. Sadly, a very not the most pleasant context, but I think it is so important.
Yeah.
Nice. Anyway, I need to round off our conversation, Raja. Really good chat this morning, and I've been wanting to come to this space, but finally I made it here.
Yeah, glad that you made it here this morning on a very hot morning.
Okay, it looks like it's gonna rain soon. Anyway, to round out this conversation, I have one question for you. Is that, as much as we're very passionate, or those who are listening in who are very passionate about, trying to serve with design, it's not an easy journey, lah. Especially myself, I've been through it. Any last word you have for aspiring, I would say, social designers or social architects, to guide them along as they start or venture into that journey?
Yeah. I think in Singapore context, right, I think there's not many architecture company that focus on social good, right? I think right now, I think only can think of your company, WeCreate, right? Yeah, but other bigger companies, I guess they do have their so-called the corporate social responsibility kind of thing. So if you're still like interested in doing good, like and utilizing your skill set, like architecture wise, to help to help with community in need, I think we can always start small, right?
Yep, agree.
Start with volunteering first. I think there's a lot of organizations out there which allow us who are trained architecturally to provide our expertise, or even just to provide our manpower, right? Like for example, ethic homes here to allow for architects who wants to experience hands-on building, right?
In 3 days.
Yeah, in 3 days. I think you went for the experience.
Yes.
I always wanted to go for it, but didn't have the opportunity. Yeah, lor. So start something small. If you want to start a company out of doing social good, I think like what you went through for 5 years, it's not easy, I guess.
It's really not easy.
In terms of your job wise, to us to get jobs, just to focus on doing good for organization, or maybe for non-profit organization, for social service organization, that kind of thing, that usually they do not have the funds or the grants to actually to pay for this, for our services, architectural services, like more often than not, architects provide pro bono roles, right? Just provide the expertise, but just don't expect payment, kind of things. So we are still not there yet, in terms of providing our services, especially in terms of community design. I think start off with joining organization groups. I think now we have this group that's called Community X, right? So those who are interested in doing community projects, or those who have already projects related to doing social good, right, for the community, you can come onto this platform and just share your experiences, Yeah. And of course, under SIA, like you have your SIA CSR, right, where you always have programs and activities that help to give the architects out there more centered perspective lah. Rather than always getting to the needs of those that can afford it. Okay, what about those who cannot afford lah?
Yeah.
I think that's a very good initiative. But just I find that it's only targeted to registered architects lah. So people like me who are not registered,
We are opening out to not registered, but you must be SIA member.
yeah lor. So I need to register myself as a member lah. Yeah. So I think those are good opportunities. Yeah.
I wouldn't highly recommend starting a business on social good. To be honest,
Yeah
after
lah.
this journey, it's
Yeah,
really
so I want
noisy.
to ask you back lah. So you say you set yourself a 5-year plan. I think back then when we had the discussion, I see whether doing an architecture outfit just purely focus on doing good for social society kind of thing. Like, does that translate well in terms of business sense or even in terms of the impact? I mean, are you still in there for the long run or what?
Difficult question.
Yeah, you must. Yeah, it's
You say, I said 5 years when I met you, right?
Yeah.
Now we are in 6 years already. Actually, for me personally, my own journey 7 years already. I think no turning back already. I love it so much. So already passed my 5 years. I mean, to be honest, why I set the 5 years is, like I mentioned earlier, is really a very difficult mental and emotional journey to step out of comfort zone. Yeah. So that's why to ease my own pain, just in case. But because during my younger backpacking days, I also met people where they are just exploring for decades and decades, and I don't know if to me it won't find like an excuse, for themselves rather than motivation.
Yeah.
When a motivation becomes an excuse, it's not a motivation anymore. Yeah. It's just an excuse lah. I don't want to end up there. Yeah. The reality of 5 years, if I cannot achieve anything out of this journey, then I've not done anything lah. Then go back full-time job again lah.
So is there like some goals, like we all like to wear smart goals, right? They can be measurable one, right? So is there something that you already like set yourself up, then you already met your goals or the criteria?
I would say milestones. When I first started my journey, I was kind of already shaping my milestones each year towards my 5 years to make sure that if I cannot achieve any of the milestone at any of the point of the years that I've set for myself, I must be ready to tell myself that this is not working out. I need to go back to.
So what is the milestone? Is it about like having a certain profit margin or something?
To some point, yes. So generally business making, right? So usually you must be able to stabilize by 3 years. 3 to 5 years is, if by 5 years a business cannot settle down or stabilize, there's something wrong with the business model. Okay. So generally speaking. So my 5 years is more my personal journey. So when I left my corporate, my first year was just to explore, because I remember I told you I don't even know where to start, how to start, who. I don't even know anyone in this space, but I felt very strongly for it. So I could depend 1 year on my life savings like you. Then I used up my life saving. So during that 1 year, I just went to travel. My heart was for Southeast Asia. So I focused my space on, because I felt that as an architect, knowing my climatic zone is very important to design well. So I want to stick to my climatic zone in order to serve well. So I stuck to Southeast Asia. So I went around Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, Myanmar. This was the time I got to really unlearn what I learned. I mean, I would say put it on the side. Really unlearn and put it on the side what I have knew, and start listening again. I think you use the word listening is so important. Yeah. Sometimes we undermines it, right? But listening to stories from farmers to see where the needs are, to see what are the kind of reality on the ground that outside newspaper, I hear you. I'm not saying you don't read newspaper. I'm saying the news has been curated. You'll never know the true story on the ground until you're there. So my first year was so unlearned. I knew that my savings, I calculated already, cannot survive after 1 year.
Okay, that's why I need to rope you in as an adjunct, right? So that one.
That's the time I went to do for a job, exactly like you. I went to do for a job. I went to do some freelance work. I was doing consultancy for other friends. By the point, when I left my journey, I never knew I want to set up company. Because I thought I'd be a very bad business person.
Right. So I always look forward to our meetings and our conversations. So the social good part is definitely very.
You'll never change.
The way you approach your projects, right? That means you need to do it from
approaches will change.
From community-centered design approach or from participatory design approach. I think that's something that no architecture firm are willing to go through that kind of trouble. Or if not, they just engage somebody else to do that for them lah. But to do that on their own, you really make an effort to involve the communities at the start of the projects that you have, right? By having this kind of engagement sessions.
But I think the reality on the ground, especially when I do participatory design and community engagement, right? I learned a lot through my own journey. I knew the technique. I heard about the technique after I left. Actually, I knew the technique through you, actually, and Larry. But to deploy the technique on the ground, I learned a lot more. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and the real participatory community engagement takes time. And the power of community engagement is not just collecting data point, but to me the real power is building trust. It becomes a technique and a platform to allow trust to be built over time between two different two different lingo, two different tongue, two different mindset, two different background, or to some extent two could be two different endpoints. The community usually come to me and say, can you build me a school? But usually our starting point is, my learning journey is that we don't just want to build a school with you. We want to build with you a capacity to be educated. To me, it's two different endpoints. So community engagement and participatory techniques allow us to build that mutual trust in order for us to do it together. The idea of co-creation is not just doing one workshop, two group of people together. That's not co-creation. Co-creation takes a lot more than that. It's about building trust first, then we can talk about co-creating things together. It's not an easy journey, to be honest. It takes so much time, and it's not just about, to me, it's not just about putting post-it together. It looks like it, but the journey to get to putting the right information on the post-it is a lot more than that. It's all the behind scene that requires a lot of curation and intended or meaning sincere engagement. I mean, this is one of the key takeaways to my own journey. But just to finish my 5 years journey is that the last 3 years, because I already built a certain capacity, that's where in reality on the ground is, even though we talk about social architecture, right? Social architecture business is still business first. The reality is, no matter how good we are, how intended we are, somebody told me before, non-architect, is that no matter what social businesses, social enterprises, whatever social intent good you have to establish a good business model first. With underlying intent and heart towards social group. It cannot be social good first, then business, because the reality is your business will never sustain. And when you cannot even survive, you cannot serve. In a scenario of emergency, you first need to put your air mask for yourself first before you can
help others.
If you cannot even survive,
you can help yourself, you cannot help others.
You cannot even help others. So that's the reality on the ground.
That is very true for me, because if I want to do more good, right, I first need to be able to sustain myself first.
Yes. I think for anyone also,
so
right?
You need to have stability in your life. I think that's when you are ready to give back to the community kind of things.
It's okay not to know right from the start you want to serve already. I think it's important to just go with the flow, accumulate money, very important. Accumulate money, invest savings, accumulate techniques, accumulate knowledge. Then when you're ready, you can serve purposefully and meaningfully.
So I'm really truly inspired by your journey and things like that. So
thank you.
I'm so like I say, now I'm at another crossroad in my life.
To be continued after.
To be continued. What's next after this, right? Because set up this community garden plus community kitchen, things. But all these I think still like a fashion project kind of things So it's like not sustaining myself kind of thing. In fact, I need to fork out money on my own right? To really sustain this thing. But I do enjoy, I think, meeting people. So I open up the doors to this garden, like people from everywhere just come in and just take a look.
The old kampong days.
So that's the type of feeling that I want to recreate, like to give back to the community in a sense. Also, as I say, I think like what you mentioned, we need to have a safety net for ourselves, right?
We need to,
So teaching itself, I think, provide me a lot of stability, and it still provide me a meaningful work that I still can go back and tell myself that I have done well, right? And have to help to shape the young minds.
Very noble job,
that's why. That's why rope you in as well, right? But now, but what's next? Do I want to expand? Because at this point of time, I do have a lot of requests for this and that, right? To do workshops, to do gardening and things like that. But I need to, like I said, still have some form of stability First, I has to be able to sustain my current lifestyle.
Yeah.
So paying all the
Yes,
mortgage, paying
your
all the
mortgage and your car and your new
Yeah.
place.
Correct. So that's something that I need to really consider a lot. But what if I can do something that is like concurrently lah? So currently it's still in a very relaxed mode where I do out of fashion, yeah. But what if I make it into a business? Then will I start to get
Try
burnt
my
out?
5 years plan thing.
5 years plan.
So anyway, thank you very much for your time, Raja. Very nice chat. Very nice place to chat.
Thanks for inviting me for this session lah.
Yeah.
I'm also very happy to be able to host you guys in this space. Yeah, so feel free to just look around lah, and if you have anything to ask me after this, just let me know lah. Kind of things, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
Bye-bye,
thank you everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks for listening.